Hello and welcome to Virtual Investor Conferences. My name is Phil Carlson, and on behalf of KCSA Strategic Communications, as well as our co-host OTC Markets Group, we're very pleased you have joined us for our next live presentation from Leef Brands. Before I introduce our speakers, a few points to note. Please submit your questions in the questions box to the left of the slides. If you're interested in scheduling a meeting with Leef Brands, please click on the Meetings tab found on the left navigation bar. You'll be able to view the company's availability and submit a meeting request. On a final note, all of today's presentations will be recorded and available for 24/7 replay. At this point, I'm very pleased to welcome Micah Anderson, Chief Executive Officer, and Kevin Wilson, CFO of Leef Brands, which trades on the OTCQB venture market under the symbol LEEEF and on the CSE under the symbol LEEF. Welcome, Mike and Kevin.
All right, thanks, Phil. Thanks, everyone, for joining. I'm excited to be here. My name is Micah Anderson, and I do have Kevin Wilson with me, who is the company's CFO. I've had about every single IT dilemma you can have this morning, so unfortunately, I'm not able to be on video. I'm on my phone, but Kevin and I have figured out a way to make this work, so he's going to be kind of running through the slides for me. So I want to bring you kind of quickly up to speed on, so some of you know this, some of you who don't know this. A bit of our recent history over the past 9 months. Leef Holdings, Kevin and I both came from a company called Leef Holdings. I was the founder and CEO of that company. Kevin was the VP of Finance. So we're both operating under new roles with Leef Brands. Myself as the CEO and Kevin as the CFO. So a company called Icanic purchased Leef Holdings about 9 months ago. We've been busy with the integration process and decided to kind of streamline marketing across all channels of the company, renamed the company Leef. I'll get into some of the reasons why later on in the presentation. But make sure that everyone on some of this stuff, you can download this presentation on our website, which is leefbrands.com. And of course, like Phil said, you can reach out to us with any follow-up questions. So getting into the vision, so read this just in my own words. So our vision really is to build a big, highly successful cannabis company of a handful of legacy this plant daily. We're devoted to the cannabis industry and to building this company over the coming years. Into our company. So next slide, just kind of the different facets of our business, starting with supply chain. So Leef, at our core, I would say that we're a manufacturing company that has a handful of other divisions of the company which drive revenue into the company. Leef Labs, being our manufacturing business in California, is the centerpiece of our business. But with any manufacturing company or processing company, as some of you might know it, the secret to, or one of the secrets to success in the manufacturing business is to make sure that you have a solid supply chain. California is the main state that we're operating in at the moment. Hopefully looking to change that sometime in the near future. Throughout the state of California. We've been working on a large farm project or cultivation project in Santa Barbara County. Currently own the local license, working on the state license. We go through a ton of material, which I'll get into. Our manufacturing facility is very unique, closed-loop manufacturing building, 12,000 square feet. We have a Type 7 license, which allows for us to do solvent-based extraction or hydrocarbon extraction, as it's known, ethanol extraction, solvent extraction. We have a commercial kitchen as well. And out of this facility, we do a bit of white labeling for other local brands in the state of California. We've recently moved into the retail side for a handful of strategic reasons. So we have retail in Southern California, one in Northern California. This is a good delivery platform throughout the state. But established brands, which we'll get into. So we've got 5 brands, great market penetration. We're in about 550 stores throughout the state of California. We have our own sales team. We work with a third-party distribution company to do the last mile. So getting into our supply chain. So one of the things that's unique about our business is just the amount of material that we go through. It's we go through over 800,000 pounds of cannabis per year through our facility. Almost all of this is bought through third-party vendors, other cultivation partners that we have throughout the state. Some of it is under contract. A lot of it is not. Our internal supply chain. So one of the things that we're working on, and we have been for about 3 years, like I said, we own an LUP in Santa Barbara, or have the option on the LUP rather. It's 180 acres of cultivation. It's massive. It sets us up great for federal legalization when and if it happens in the next few years. And, you know, to put 800,000 pounds of material into context, it's about roughly 100 acres worth of material that we currently already consume that we're buying from other cultivation partners throughout the state. In the manufacturing, these are our 4 swim lanes here. So ethanol is one of our main lines. Hydrocarbon, which is the type 7 extraction line. Solventless extraction, which many of you are familiar with, is kind of a new, it's an old extraction technique which has become highly popular over the past couple of years. And then our edible kitchen that we have on site. Next slide, Kevin, if you can help me out. So manufacturing, just in terms of capacity, just back to one of the ways that we designed this facility, which is very unique. So extraction, when extraction equipment first came out, there's what was called a closed loop system, which basically made it to where it was a lot safer design, more efficient. We took this concept and applied it to our entire facility. So all of our solvents are held outside of the facility, right? So there's really no human involvement once the material comes in and is loaded into the first extraction vessel. We really need just a handful of people to run it through all the way to post-processing on the other end. And it's just for efficiencies and how much material we can push through the material. You know, other facilities that need 15 to 20 people to do that, we've really honed it down to a small amount of, I came by way of the way that we originally designed the facility. I lost my, here we go. So getting into our white labeling services. So this kind of represents a handful of the different companies that we work with in the state. Not saying that these are, you know, by any way, any of these companies are exclusive to Leef. Some of them are, some of them are not. But I think what it points out is that, like, if you were to look up any of these companies, these are really kind of a lot of the top companies in the state. We've built relationships over the past handful of years with a lot of the biggest companies in the state. So a lot of our business is working with these brands, empowering these brands. They rely on us for their supply chain needs, which has set us up strategically in a handful of other ways, M&A and, you know, moving outside of the state, which I'll get into here in the near future. Just having good relationships with some of the best companies in the state. And then you can get into the different products and services that we offer on the right-hand side. So our brands, Real Deal Resin, Heady, Leef Organics, Gospel Buddies is kind of a recent one to the portfolio through a licensing and sales agreement. California is a huge state. Northern California and Southern California are very different markets. We've got a very well-ran sales team that blankets the entire state. So like I said, there's about 550 doors that were active doors that we're in. At the moment, there's about 1,000 roughly that are active in the state. So just to give you an idea of market penetration. Getting into our brands, so Real Deal Resin, top 10 solventless company in the state. These focus on solventless extraction. Gaining market, I can't remember what the number is off the top of my head. This is a new brand of the market in the past 12 months, and it's definitely number one in terms of like growth over the 12 months. So top 10 pre-roll companies is a legacy brand, coming up on 10 years of being in the market, focused on infused pre-rolls. Heady Flower Company is our Type 7 line, as we call it. It really focuses on Type 7 style concentrates and then different types of flower products. Leef Organics, so this is the first brand that we started with under the Leef Holdings umbrella. This is a CBD line, or wellness line, as we call it. It's distributed across the entire United States. We do sell into other countries as well. It's sold through most of the Nordstroms, Marriott, Four Seasons. A lot of high-end boutique hotel chains carry it. It's a very great brand. You can check it out at leeforganic.com. And then Buddies. So Buddies was a client of ours. Over the past 3 years, effort to get both brands and more pick up on efficiencies and saving money. We ended up doing a deal with these guys at the end of last year where we're now doing their sales through a licensing and sales agreement. Brought over some of their best salespeople, merged them with our salespeople, and it's been great so far. They're in a bunch of new doors. We're in a bunch of new doors. Great company. They're a top 10 vape company in the state of California. I believe they're number one by quite a bit in Oregon, and then also number one in Washington. Getting into our retail locations. So on the left-hand side here, this is our Southern California retail location we recently acquired, called the Leef on El Paseo. It's kind of like the Rodeo Drive of the desert. Super nice store. They've got a great delivery platform, an additional 5,000 square feet under the retail location for distribution and retail. So we're actively working on some strategies on rolling out a D2C platform that we're excited about. And then on the right, a flagship location in Mendocino County, again, another retail location there as well. Getting into our market, most of you are highly aware of the cannabis industry, so you've seen this stuff, but just I think what's important to just comment on here. So where Leef brands, where we really play our something is more so on the not so much on the flower side, but it's everything outside of the flower lane. So vapes, pre-rolls, edibles, concentrates, beverages. That's where we excel and where we find, the best place to be in the market. And the reason being, we have cultivators within our company, but there's a shelf life when it comes to extraction. There's a way you can grow a bunch of material. Sometimes you run into issues with that material as a cultivation company. And when you're an extraction company, the way that we are, we're set up to always have a pathway to revenue when you do run into problems. So that's the lane that we prefer to stay in. We're proud to say that, like, just walk into a dispensary in California at the moment and look at any sort of concentrate that's sold in there. I'm not saying that 100% of it comes from us, but the majority of the brands doing well in the state of California are clients of ours, which is amazing. It's kind of hats off to the team. So that's the lane that we swim in. Getting into corporate strategy, and Kevin, let me know how I'm doing on time. I know that we're limited here. So kind of what this represents is on the left, this is where we are today. So most of our revenue, about 80% of it, comes from powering other large brands throughout the state. We want to continue to foster those relationships and see that revenue stream continue to build, while at the same time we want to put energy into our CPG line, seeing more margins, and seeing our portfolio of brands continue to grow, to eventually getting to 50% of our revenue. How we're going to get there, so image on the left represents kind of what our company looks like. So cultivation at the bottom, whether that's coming from cultivators that we work with or at some point in time, cultivation under the umbrella of the company, manufacturing, brands, retail, and eventually. So I guess one thing that would be important to point out here, so like I said, we've been working with a lot of these bigger brands for years. We built relationships. We feel like we can almost kind of, in a way, predict which ones are going to do well, which ones aren't. After getting to know companies for a long period of time, you get to understand their management teams, how they operate, do they pay their bills, all these different things. And it's put us in a good position to where our capacity at the Leef Labs facility in Mendocino is very, very large, and we have the ability to bring on brands that might have duplicative expenses or manufacturing under their own umbrella and wind them down to get them more efficient. And it set us up well for some of the M&A conversations that we had. Second here. So Kevin, if you can, onto the next slide. So this slide really represents one of the things that we've been really focused on is creating, call it like a franchise model or Bible of SOPs, and as well for our manufacturing facility. So take Leef Labs, for example. So everything from the color on the outside, the branding, the marketing, to SOP, like how do you make very complicated extracted products, all the different things that we do. We've been building an SOP Bible, so it has to get into conversations with other groups that are outside.
Give him 1 sec, see if he comes back. So I think Mike is having some audio troubles, which happy he made it this far. Um, as he was saying, one of our core focuses right now is really working with partners who are located in other states and they might have opportunities. They might be building out a manufacturing facility, and we're putting together, as Mike has said, almost a franchise model. Book of SOPs, everything from how we bring in material to how we make our concentrates and products. A lot of the customers that are looking to expand or are in other states really struggle with consistency of their product. That Micah uses the term that the flavor of coffee in California is different than it is in New York. And so being able to take a product that we manufacture currently in California for a client and move that to New York, we're confident that we're going to be able to bring a lot of our customers with us and be successful in these new locations. Skipping over, we have a strong executive team. Mike, are you back?
No, keep going. I think I'm having audio troubles here. You're doing great. Keep going.
So we have a strong executive team and founders that have been with the company since the beginning. A lot of them are legacy cultivators in the industry, and so they bring a lot of expertise to what we're doing today. Attached to that, we also have a very strong board of directors and advisors. Mark Smith, who was the chairman, was a part of AYR for a long time. Brandon Koo was the CEO of Icanic pre-acquisition. And we have a very strong advisory board as well. Joe Parsons was the president and CEO of GE Capital for many years. Ed Berger, who's an advisor, was a part of the Leef, the dispensary that we just picked up in Palm Desert. And Mike Pantzer, who's new to our advisory board. Mike is a leading advocate for a group called Normal. So he's been involved with the industry in efforts to legalize for many years. And so a lot of great expertise on our advisory board. We also have a cap table that includes a lot of professional athletes. And we say this less to highlight that they're professional athletes involved with the company, and more to say that these are guys that really want to be involved in the company now that we've transitioned our name from Icanic to Leef. We're telling our story, specifically on the Leef Organic side on our CBD brand. We have a group of very passionate athletes who not only use the product, but want to begin to develop it and put our name out there a little more. So guys like Jimmy Butler and Rudy Gobert that we're working with on a daily basis to find new ways to bring our product out. I know that we had a lot of audio issues there. Thanks for bearing with us on a bunch of that. I think that we heard 95% of what Micah was trying to convey there. Happy to meet with everybody afterwards. I think we have some availability set for next week if you're interested. You can also find more information on leafbrands.com or reach out to us at ir@leefca.com. We do have a couple questions in here. Micah, have you come back?
I'm here. How's my audio now?
All right. We can hear you. So let's see if you can take this one, and if not, I'll jump in. What categories are you seeing the greatest growth in California, and how are you participating in it?
I would say one of the categories that we're seeing a ton of growth in is the solventless or rosin category in the concentrate space. And the way I would say that we're participating, we've built out 2 rooms in our extraction business in Mendocino County that are specific to solventless production. So knowing what I know about the other manufacturing companies throughout the state, I'd say that we're probably number 1 or number 2 when it comes to capacity. We've been working on one of the other things that's unique about solventless extraction too. For those of you that don't know this, is genetic-wise, the way that you can do really well in the solventless category is ensuring that you have the right genetics. Not every single strain that is grown does well. Some of them do actually horrible. You could take a strain that performs very well from a yield perspective in hydrocarbon, take it over to solventless, and end up with like a 1% yield as opposed to a 5% yield. So when we did our deal with Real Deal Resin, it's one of the great things about working with our group. They've been working for close to 10 years specifically on genetics that perform well with solventless production. So we've got a portfolio of genetics that do really well. And in the industry, 3% is considered a good one. We have a bunch of them that are at 5% yielding plants that we work with. So on the solventless category, I'd say like that's where we're seeing the most growth. That being said, I would say it's still relatively a small sliver of the industry that we think is going to grow over time. So we put a lot of energy into it, and that's how we've ensured that we stay in kind of the leading position there.
Micah, with a lot of companies pulling out of California right now, can you comment on how you're managing the difficult California marketplace?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think that having some of the companies pull out is, it's a good thing and a bad thing for us. Unfortunately, a couple of them were our clients, but it's also opening up opportunities that weren't there. Us being able to grab market share that was currently being consumed by another company. So I think that we're having conversations with all of our clients. So twice a year we get with our clients, once in the beginning of the year and then once halfway through the year, kind of end of Q3, really just to see like, okay, how are you guys performing? How are we performing? How can we better work together? And so going through a lot of those conversations over January and February, it seems like the ones that are making the pull out, they're not going to negatively affect our business in any way. I kind of see there being more opportunities, but I think to answer the question, I think it's just being ahead of the curve, having the open dialogue with people just to find out which companies. Most of the ones that are pulling out, I would say, are MSOs, guys that have other opportunities in other states, and the ones that are rooted in California, such as ourselves, we're doubling down, so to speak, with some of our efforts with some of our bigger clients.
Micah, you mentioned the farm earlier. Can you tell us a little more about the farm and how it sets us up for the future with federal legalization?
Yeah, sure. So over the past 3 years, we've literally bought cannabis material from most of the farms throughout the state of California. Every farm from the top of the state to the bottom of the state. And so through that process, we've been able to collect a lot of really good data where we can see when you're in extraction business, one of the problems that we run into, I'm going to highlight this real quick and then I'll get back to the question. One of the complexities around it is that we run cannabis material through an extraction process, and what ends up happening is you end up having a concentration of whatever problematic material could potentially be in that material. So pesticides, microbials, things like that. So we have a very, very good idea of which farms perform well, which areas don't. So for like Salinas, Monterey area, we know that those areas are highly problematic for extraction companies. Usually they're fine for flower companies, but for our business, they don't work. Certain areas of Santa Barbara County where there's a ton of cultivation doesn't necessarily work for our business. So through that process, we identified a farm that we're confident that will not have any of these issues. There's no surrounding pesticide areas. It's on the backside or east side of Santa Barbara County. It's a huge ranch. It's 2,000 acres. It was an old wheat field. It's got 300 acres of pasture land that are like landlocked, like an island almost, surrounding these mountains, which are all part of the property. So there's zero ag use in the area. We've done soil tests. You can see that the soil's done well. We've done them plant tests where we ran them through the same solvent production that we use, and just to go through the testing process. So to get back to the question, like I said, we currently consume 100 acres of material. So like if I was advising a company and someone was just come to me and say, hey, would you do cultivation in California right now? My immediate answer would be like, no, probably not. There's, cultivation in California is going through a big warble right now. There's tons of, I saw a recent report where they're saying 40% of the cultivators that were there last year aren't there. We're definitely seeing that with our purchasing right now. There's less clean material in the market, and it's a direct result of how many farms have gone out of business or have gone fallow. So the fact that we consume 100 acres currently today makes us confident that, if it wasn't for that, I don't know if cultivation would be something that we were going after, but because we do, and we're dealing with the ebbs and flows of the market, pricing going from anywhere from $10 per pound to $25 a pound drastically impacts our business. And so to shore that up and to mitigate those types of swings, we do think that it's a good thing for our business, and we definitely see ourselves being set up for federal legalization. So if we have 186 acres of clean cannabis production in California prior to federal legalization, coupled to an extraction business such as Leef Labs, we're in a good position to be the largest provider in California of clean material. And I think that the way that we built the business, back to the kind of SOP franchise level that we've been building, we're in a great position to roll that out across other markets as well. So everything from the genetics, cultivation SOPs, rolling into extraction, and then the brand portfolio. So one of the things, and I got broken up there, that Kevin didn't mention, is that a lot of our best clients, or our biggest clients in California, are already in other markets. And just having conversations with them, one of the struggles that they have is that their coffee doesn't taste the same in California as it does in some of the other markets that they're in. And so they're looking for a solid manufacturing partner and cultivation partner to shore up those problems in these other markets. And so it's interesting. We've even got phone calls from some of our bigger clients where they're like, hey, there's an opportunity. There's a manufacturing company. We're going to make an introduction. We really want you to come in and basically, take this facility over, just so that we have a solid partner here in this other state that we're in. So that's kind of how we see our rollout taking place. And so hopefully I answered the question. If I didn't, Kevin, maybe I can highlight on another area that I might have missed.
Yeah, so we have about 2 minutes left, but we do have availability next week. You set it up through the virtual investor conference. Happy to meet with anyone if there's any other questions. Again, ir@leefca.com if you want to just email us. Micah, we got 2 minutes left if you want to wrap it up.
No, I appreciate everyone tuning in. We're excited about the company. Integration is out of, I don't want to say out of the way, but we are definitely seeing the light at the end of the tunnel when it comes to integration with Mechanic. We're happy to say that we've saved about $400,000, close to $400,000 a month in monthly redundancies that we've identified in the integration process. And so now the name's changed. We've got marketing set up. Like Kevin said, we've got these players that are going to help with marketing, and we've been kind of quiet through the process, and our goal, for the rest of the year is to start getting more active when it comes to, press releasing and talking about the company, giving more updates as to what we're doing. So like Kevin said, feel free. We're very transparent, open book. Reach out to us, any follow-up questions, and I just appreciate everyone tuning in to listen to the story.